Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the AVS Video Editor 8.0 tutorial. In this series we will cover everything that you need to know about AVS version 8.0. In part 1 of the series we will cover just the basics that this editor has to offer so you can just get a good start about what AVS is. Later on in the series you will learn many more advanced techniques and editing skills, but for now it will just be the basics. So when you first open up AVS Video Editor, this is the screen that you are prompted with right away, and it's called the Projects tab. And we'll get to what the Projects tab is in a little bit, but for now we're going to be focusing on the area down here which is called the main editing board. And the main editing board is basically where you're going to be spending most of your time at. So we're going to be focusing on this right now. Let's go ahead and go into our media library, which is another area that you'll be spending a lot of your time in. So within our media library is where we can access all of our different file types, where we can import and export our media and to put our media onto the main video line and such. So I made this folder over here. It's called I made this sample, and it has all sorts of file types like video types, image types, and audio types. So we're going to be using these different types to be put onto our video today. So the main video board down here is where most of our editing will occur. So you can scroll up and down to see the different lines, and I'll show you what each line is right now. So the first line we have up here is called the main video line, and the main video line is essentially exactly what it says. It's for your main videos and images. You can only put videos and images onto that line. So let's begin by going to our video tab right here. We can select a video type right here, and you can put it onto the main video line by clicking, holding, and dragging it onto the main video line. And right away when you put it onto the main video line, you'll see the sound waveforms that show the audio waves within the video. And once you add a clip to that main video line, that is essentially the base to where you can start editing your video. But the next line that's under the main video line is called the video effects line. And the video effects line is something pretty special. You can only apply video effects to this line. And you can find video effects in the video effects tab right here. So if we click on the video effects tab, you'll see a bunch of different video effects that you can use. And I will go into greater detail about how to properly use these video effects in your videos in a later video in this series, so stay tuned for that. But just as a quick example, we will apply a video effect real quick. So if we go ahead and click and drag this onto the video effect line, you notice I cannot apply it to any other line down here. I can only apply it to the video effects line. So if we apply it right there, you'll see it will change the base video that we put in the main line by adding the glow effect, and that's the effect that I added right there. So that is the video effects line, and I'll go into much greater detail on how to use this properly to really make your videos look great in another video. But for now, the next line that's under that is the video overlays line, and it's something pretty similar to the main video line here, but it's a little bit different in that it overlays your main video. So if we go back into our media library, we'll go into our image section where we have our different picture files. And so I'm going to select this image right here, which is a transparent image, which means that the background will not show up once we apply this picture. So if we click and drag this picture file onto our video overlay line right here, you can see that once it's applied, the transparent background goes away and the picture overlays the video, hence the name, the video overlay line. Now you can apply pictures and videos in this, so let's go ahead and apply a video to it. We have this green screen video right here. Let's go ahead and apply it, and now that video is overlaying the main video right there. And of course you can do some really cool things with this by editing the overlay with this button right here. And again, I will go into much greater detail on how to use the video overlay line properly to really make your videos look great. But that is how you use this line. You just simply click and drag pictures and image files onto that line, and they will overlay your main video. So if we go ahead and scroll down a little bit more, the line that's under the video overlay line is called the text line, and you can only apply text to this line. So we can access that text by going into the text tab right here, and we have a bunch of options to select our different text. So if we go ahead and click and drag a sample text right here, we can put it right on the text line, and you notice that we cannot drag it onto any other line but the text line. So if we put our text right here, we can edit our text by selecting the text within that line and pressing the edit text button right here on the left. And so this window will open up to where we can actually edit our text. So if we double click in here, we can do sample text, and it is a little bit big on the default. So let's go ahead and change the size of it to about 16. And there you go. You can do all sorts of fun things with text. Text is a much more diverse thing than what people actually assume it to be. You can do some amazing things with it, and I do all sorts of fun things with the text option. So stay tuned for that video coming on later in the series, and I'll show you how to do some very cool things with text. But that's essentially how you do it. All you do is you click and drag your text onto that line. You can press the edit text button to edit how you want your text to be, and you can do some other cool things which I will show you later on. So as we scroll all the way to the bottom of the main video board, we have our last two lines here, which is the audio mix line and the voice recording line. And guys, don't get confused between these two lines because they are exactly the same thing. They're both an audio line. You can both put audio files on this line. The reason there are two lines here is because the one line is called voice recording line, and that line is the default line to put your voice recording. So we can access voice recordings by clicking on this tab right here titled Voice. It is where you can record your own voice and record it from different audio sources. So if we go into the source tab right here, we can go ahead and select this microphone, and let's go ahead and record a sample. I'm going to go ahead and mute this video because it does have audio over it, and I don't want that audio to be playing over my voice. So let's go ahead and right click it and press mute. So now the video is muted. So let's go ahead and start recording. This is a sample recording, and we'll stop that right there. So now we have our audio file that defaulted to be put onto the voice recording line. That's why there's two different lines. You really don't need those two different lines, but AVS decided to be nice and put a second line down there for us. So we can go ahead and listen to it. This is a sample recording. So there you guys go. That will automatically default to that line right there. But if we go into our media library tab, we go into the audio sections where we can access our different audio files. We have all sorts of different audio files with us. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this sound effect right here, clicking and dragging it onto one of these audio lines. And you can see I can apply it to both audio lines right there. So we'll put that sound effect right there, and then we will add this sound effect to right here. So now we have two different sound effects right there, and both audio files can be applied to both audio lines. So again, they are the exact same thing, so don't get too confused by them. They both do the exact same thing. So that is the main editing board with what you can do and what each line does and the different types of objects that you can apply to each line. But now we're going to quickly go over how to zoom in on this clip. So now we have a lot going on here. Let's say you want to zoom in on this red X right here so you can really get a good feel perspective-wise to where it is in the clip. So there are a few options with how you can zoom in. We have over here on the right side the zoom scroll bar feature. And all you do is you zoom by pressing the zoom scroll bar by going right to zoom in and left to zoom out. Now you guys have to understand that the scroll bar right here, the perspective bar, you can click and drag it to see what your video is doing in the preview pane right there. And the zoom feature will be relative to where that scroll bar is. So if the scroll bar is way over here and you want to zoom in on the X, you're not going to zoom in on the X, you're going to zoom in on where the scroll bar is. So make sure that your scroll bar is where you want it to be before you start zooming in on where you want to zoom in. Another way that's helpful for zooming and for perfecting your perspective here is this button right here called the zoom to fit button. I love this button a lot because let's say I'm really zoomed in on something and I just want to quickly get out of it. You go ahead and press the zoom to fit button and it zooms out to show your entire project that you're working on. It's a good way to get a bird's eye view of what you're doing in your project. And the last way you can zoom in is to simply click and drag on where this timeline is, where the different timestamps are. Click, hold, and drag left and right to zoom in to where you want. It's a pretty cool feature. I like that they do that. I often don't use it very much because I just use the zoom scroll bar feature, but it still is something very cool and something very useful that you can use. So those are the three different ways that you can change your perspective and change your zooming features within the editor. So now we're going to be focusing on how to trim your clips. And so really quickly we're going to go over this. So if we go ahead and select one of the objects here, let's say the red X, we click on the red X, and again you have to have the red X selected, or whatever object you want, you have to have it selected before you can start trimming it. So the way you can trim it is you have to have it selected, hover your mouse either over the left or the right, you'll see those double arrows pop up, and you can click, hold, and drag it right to increase it, or left increasing it depending on which side you're on. If you put it to the left here, it will shorten the length of it. And of course you can click, hold, and drag it to wherever you want it to appear within your clip. Now you guys have probably noticed these features over here, which is the padlock and the eyeball. We're going to go over those real quick right now. So what the padlock does is called the lock line function, and this is really important to use within your videos if you're doing some big edits on your main video line. Now the reason you need the padlock is because your main video line is a little bit different, and I'll show you what that is right now. So we have our red X here. We want our red X to appear right at this time at 44.289 seconds. We want our red X to stay right there. We don't want it to move at all. What we can do is we can press this lock line button on the line that the red X is on. We go ahead and press that. Now that thing cannot move. And the reason this is important is because if you edit anything within the main video line, it will change the motion of the other lines down here, and I'll show you what that is. So if you notice, the glow effect starts right here at 59.7 seconds. If we go ahead and we take this clip right here and we go ahead and split it by using this button right here, it's the split button, and we go ahead and trim this clip about 5 seconds or so to about right there, watch the glow effect as it moves to the left, and then also watch as the red X does not move at all, which is a really cool feature. See, the glow effect now changed over to 54.1 seconds, and the red X did not move at all, which is a really cool feature with the lock line. If the line was not locked and we changed it by doing a split right here, when we go ahead and change the length of the main video, you notice that the red X was actually shortened, and it did in fact move. So it's important to use the lock line when you're doing your main video line edits. And the other option next to the padlock there is the eyeball, which is called the disable line option. And what that basically does is it will disable the entire line. So if we go ahead and press it right there, you see the X on the preview screen, and now the X is gone. So what that does is it basically disables everything in this line to not be seen within your preview pane. It's very useful to be helping with your edits. You can see what else is going on in your video. So that was how you use the main editing board, and that is basically the very basics what you need to know about the main editing board. But now we're going to focus on what's called the preview pane, which is right here in the top right. And the preview pane basically shows you what's going on within your video that you're editing, or with what media you have imported. So right now I'm in my sample folder here. I have selected my image, and it will show the image on the right. It's not going to show what's on the main editing board, but if I go ahead and click anything on the main editing board, the preview pane will show what's happening on the main editing board. But I'm going to go ahead and click back into my library to show the picture again. You can also preview your video clips here. So if I go ahead and select this video clip and press play, it's playing the video clip that's within my media library and not with what's happening on my editing board. So we have a few different options within our preview pane here as we select on our editing board. So one of the options right here is the playback speed, and it's default set to 1x, which is normally how you want it to be. But let's say you want to watch your video in double speed. You can change it to double speed by holding the scroll bar and moving it to the right. And now you can play your main video at double speed. Let's go ahead and play this now. Now it's going 2 times as fast, and if we increase it to 16x, it will play back at 16 times its regular speed, which is a little bit quick for you to do actually edits, but that's just to help you get some perspective sometimes. So we can also change the playback speed to about half speed, and you can also go into the negatives. You can go to -8 speed, and it will play it backwards 8 times as fast, which is a pretty cool feature. Not really useful, but it is really cool to use, so I usually just have it at 1x just so I don't mess things up. A few other options that we have on here, we have the snapshot button. So what you can do with this, you can take a snapshot of the video that you currently have. So I'm going to go into my main editing board and re-enable this line, so it should show everything back up right there. So we have the American flag symbol right there. Let's go ahead and take a snapshot of that by pressing the snapshot button. It will ask you where you would like to save it, and you can just go ahead and press save, and now your snapshot is saved right there, and you can import that snapshot into your media library, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. The other feature that we have right next to the snapshot button is the volume control button, and this volume control button, if you press the speaker right here, it will mute the entire playback of it. If you press it again, it will unmute it, and then the arrow next to it will control the volume of your playback. This will not change the volume of the actual video. Once you produce it, the volume will stay the same no matter how much you change the scroll bar right here. It will only affect the playback audio on it, so don't worry about actually changing the overall audio of your video. A few other things to go over real quick. We have the next frame and previous frame buttons, which are really helpful in editing. I think I use these all the time. So you see my scroll bar right here, and you see this timestamp at 32.19. If you press the next frame button, you go to 32.2 to 32.27, 32.3. So it very slowly increments your timestamp so you can find the exact point you want to edit your videos. And of course, you can go backwards with that as well. The next button next to those next frame and previous frame is called the next scene button. And this is something pretty interesting that AVS included in their editor. What it does when you click it, it will say searching, and it will try to search for the next major change within there. So our cursor was right here. When I pressed the next scene button, it automatically went to where the American flag was no longer in the video. It's a really cool feature. It might help you sometimes to notice some major changes within your video. I often don't use it because sometimes it is a little wonky and tends to not work, but you can give it a try and see how you like it within your video. And lastly, in the preview pane, if you want to watch your video in full screen mode, you just go ahead and press the full screen button. Your video is now in full screen mode, and you can watch your video. Of course, to exit out of it, you can press the escape button, or you can press the exit full screen button once again. So that is essentially the very basics of the preview pane. We've gone over the main editing board down here. We've gone over the preview pane. Now we're going to be touching on the different tabs here and what each one means. So when you first opened up the editor, you were prompted with the Projects tab by default. In the Projects tab is just a quick overview with what you can do with your different projects. You can refer back to past projects right here. These are my past projects that I have edited. You can open up your past projects like that. you can go to your current project, you can create a sample project, you can create a brand new project by clicking this button right here. You can open an existing project that does not exist, shown right there. You can save the current project that you're working on. You can also import from different sources right here, but I prefer to do that in the media library, which is the next tab right here. So if we go into our media library, which you guys have already seen a little bit, this is where you will be spending a lot of your time in. This is where a lot of your files will be imported and moved onto your main editing board. So we have this sample folder right here, and I'll show you how to make a folder right now. So this button right here that says add folder, if you go ahead and click that, this is how you create a new folder. So we can do this sample folder 2. And to import files, you can click on the screen right here, or you can press the import button right here, and this is how you can import files right here. So this is the snapshot that we created earlier. We can go ahead and open that, and it is now imported into our folder. We can go ahead and import other things that we want, such as a few video clips. We'll go ahead and select these and import them right away, and it will process it. And there's our video clips right now. And you can sort these by going into the All tab. You can see all the things you import into your folder. Go to the Videos tab, you can see all your videos. Go into the Image tab, see all your images. If we had audio files, you could see your audio files right there. Now, if you think these thumbnails are a little bit too big for you, you can have the scroll bar up top here to change the thumbnail size of it. I prefer them to be much larger, the largest you can get it. You can also scroll down all the way to see a little bit more detail about what you're working with. A few other ways to import your media are through the capture and the screen capture. The capture button right here will help you capture media from your, let's say, your webcam or from a camera that you have attached to your computer, or you can use the screen capture button, which will capture a video from your screen. So if you go ahead and press the screen capture button, it will be prompted with this little window right here, and you can click and drag the different corners to select the area with which you would like to record. Once you find the area that you want to record, you can press the start capture button. To stop the capture, press F10. So we go ahead and press start. We are right now recording our screen right there. You can probably see my mouse in it. So we go ahead and press F10. Our video should stop and it will automatically play. Recording our screen right there. You can probably see my mouse in it. And there you go. That's how you do a screen capture. Would you like to save it? No, I don't want to save it right now. And to simply get out of your screen capture, you just press the exit button and you will go back to your media library tab. So that is the basics of the media library tab. Now we're going to go into the transitions tab. And the transitions tab you guys have not seen yet, but when you click on it, you are shown all the different types of transitions that AVS has to offer. There are a lot of them, so don't get overwhelmed with them. I will show you how to properly use the transitions. To show you how to use one real quick, I'm going to go ahead and click on this burning fire transition. Click, hold, and drag it to an area that has 2 clips with it. We can go ahead and drag it right there. And you can see that our transition is now applied to our video like so, which is really cool. Now there are a lot of transitions, so AVS has organized them into different folders. So we have transform transitions and flip transitions, and if we scroll down we have stretch transitions, all sorts of ones that are organized like such, so you can look at them and play around with them to see which ones you really like. So that is the transitions tab, and again I will go into great detail on how to use the transitions properly to really make your videos look good. But now we're going to go into our video effects tab right next to it, which is very similar to the transitions tab in that there are a lot of things. Again, I will be going over how to use your video effects properly to really make your videos look good, because there's some really cool things that you can do within the video effects. But again, to show you again how to use the video effects, you click and drag it out to the video effects line, and that's how you add your video effect to the video, which is really cool. AVS once again organizes them into the different types of video effects, and there are a lot to choose from as well. So that is the video effects essentially, and then we go into our text tab right here, which you guys have already seen. AVS once again organizes them into the folders of the different types. There's a lot to choose from default, but you can edit them to how you please. So if you go ahead and grab one of our text options right here, click and drag it right there, and we can edit it to how we want it to be. So that is the text tab right there. We go into the next tab, which is the voice tab, which you guys have already seen in a little bit. You can just record your own voice from different sources. You can change the volume of it, change the format with which you're recording of it, and change the different options that you want it to be in. I've already shown you how to use the voice tab, so we're going to go into our disk menu tab. I'm going to be honest guys, this tab I am very not familiar with because I have never used it before. But with what I know, the disk tab is used to make DVD title screens. So it's really cool that they have this feature. Again, I'm not really familiar with using it, but from what I understand, you can do some pretty cool things. They have some really interesting defaults with it. So go ahead and experiment with it and try with what you would like with it. But that is the disk menu tab. So Let's say you are all finished with your project and you're really proud of your work and you're finally ready to render out your video. You can go ahead and press this last tab, which is the Produce tab, and when you press it, a new window should pop up giving you different options with how you would like to save your video. You can save it as a regular raw file, which is what I will do, and I'll show you how to get around the fact that is a non-activated version in a later video, but always select file just for this case if you're using a non-activated version. But you also have the option to burn it to a DVD or some sort of disk. You have the option to create a multimedia device file, which works best on your devices, and you can also make it a web file, which I would recommend not doing, but you can also do it like that if you please. So if you go ahead and select the File tab, you can press Next, and you're prompted with more options. So you can save it as different file types such as MP4, AVIs, and MOVs. And of course, if you press the Advanced button here, you can change the different statistics. So if you want your frame rate to be 60 FPS, or if you want it to be 30 FPS, but you can choose it to be that way. You can change your video codecs, and of course they have different presets for you that are already set, which should work just fine. So if we go ahead and press the Apple iPhone 5C HD, that usually works best. So if we go ahead and press Next, you can change the output folder with which you would like to save it. You can save it as sample video. And the final actions buttons right down here. What happens when your video is done rendering, it's all done with the work that it needs to do. This is the actions down here are what will happen when it's all finished. So you can have it do nothing, you can have it play a sound, you can have it close AVS Video Editor, or it can shut down your entire computer. I usually just have it do nothing. I press create, and then when it's all done, it will say conversion complete, and it will open up the file path with which you created it. Another thing that will affect the production of your video is called the aspect ratio, and there's an aspect ratio button right here where my mouse is at. If you go ahead and select that, you can choose the type of aspect ratio you would like in your video. For good YouTube videos, it's a 16:9 aspect ratio, but you can also change it to a 4:3 aspect ratio if you'd like, and it will give you a warning saying that everything will shift within your video, and if you produce it, it will come out to be a 4:3 aspect ratio. So I'm going to click OK just to show you that it does in fact change your whole video to a 4:3 aspect ratio. I'm going to change it back to 16:9 to show that is the perfect aspect ratio for a YouTube video. So those are the basics of producing your video once you're all finished, and stay tuned for how to properly produce your video in the future, because I'll show you some tricks to get around the fact that AVS puts a watermark over your video once you render out your video. So stay tuned so that I can show you how to remove that watermark and to properly render your video correctly. But for now, we're going to quickly go over these top 4 tabs right here in the social media link. So we have the File tab right here in the top left, where you can do your basic functions all in one go. You can create new projects, open old projects, and import your different media just from the File tab. If you go to the Edit tab is where you can change your settings around for your edit video. So if we go open up the Settings tab, we open up with the General, and there's a function right here within the Projects part. It's called the Enable Autosave, and I really do like this feature. So what will happen within your project, I have it set to 3 minutes here. So for my project, every 3 minutes my video will automatically save, which is really good because my program ends up crashing if I'm using really large files. If the program crashes, every 3rd minute the project will have auto-saved, so if it crashes I can refer back to that 3rd minute so my project can be recovered properly so there's no issues with my editing, which is a really cool feature and I like that a lot. But be careful, if you set your auto-save to, let's say, every 2 seconds, that might lag out your project and you might not be able to work efficiently. So I like to have it at 3 minutes because that works best for me. So the other tabs here, you have the Editing tab and the Processing tab, which are some other quick settings. You can go on those on your own and pick them with how your personal preference is. But I'm going to showcase the Preview tab real quick under the Quality section. Now you probably noticed within the Preview pane that the quality playback was not the greatest, and that's okay because I set it to the low quality. And what that means is that it's going to have a really low quality playback within the Preview pane. However, it does not affect the actual production of the video once you're finished with it. All it's going to do is make it faster within the preview pane and lower the quality of it so that you can make your editing much quicker, that you don't have any sort of lag spikes within it. You can set it to high, which means you'll have a high quality within the preview pane, but it might slow down your video if you're dealing with very large files. So that's just a quick preview of the Settings tab for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys have enjoyed this part 1, the basics tutorial of AVS Video Editor 8.0. Be sure to stay tuned for the much more advanced topics going on forward. In the later videos, we're going to be covering the Transitions tab, the Video Effects tab, the Text tab, the Production tab, Audio tabs, and Videos tab. We're going to be going over all sorts of advanced techniques to really make your videos look amazing. So subscribe and stay tuned for those videos to come. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you guys did, go ahead and leave a like, comment your thoughts on this video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below, and I'll do my best to comment back to help you guys out. But go ahead and subscribe and stay tuned for this video series, and I will see you guys next time.